So I'm hearing a lot of people on this app talk about quiet quitting and somehow praising this. Quiet quitting is actually a terrible idea, and you're promoting it is setting people up for failure.
You know, I've been trying my best to stay out of the quote unquote conversation around what's being dubbed as quiet quitting, right? Which is the idea that you no longer kill yourself at your job. And, mostly it's because I think the framing is kind of just off in its intention. But, like most things, it's speaking to something real that many people in the workforce are feeling. And that's that, maybe I shouldn't be putting everything within my being into the job that I have. Maybe I shouldn't be killing myself for my job. Again, I think this is a pandemic sort of collective awakening that a lot of people have had, along with others related to the topic of work. But quiet quitting is just speaking to something real that workers are feeling. So, of course, we have this genius TikToker who comes with the idea that nobody's ever heard this before, right here in America, in the capitalist utopia that is America. Nobody's ever heard this before. If you work the hardest, you're going to be rewarded. That's what this fool would want you to believe, right?
You're also never going to get ahead with this mentality. Bosses, when an opening comes up, don't look down and say, who deserves the promotion? Guess I'll go with the guy who's doing the bare minimum. Stop giving people terrible advice.
We got to stop treating people like they're idiots. If people are feeling this way, it's tied to something real. If the reality was such that working your ass off, in no matter what the job was, resulted in, respect from your employer in terms of promotions, higher wages, better working conditions, maybe we wouldn't have seen this like that's happening at Amazon, that's happening at Starbucks, that happened at John Deere, you name it. If the idea was just like busting your and earning more profits for the company would lead to recognition from work, we wouldn't see these larger movements at hand, which is what this TikToker is conveniently ignoring.
The idea of quiet quitting is not going to help anybody. Newsflash, we recently entered a recession, and while the job market's fine for now, layoffs are coming. And when they do, guess who's going to be first out the door?
And then, of course, you have the biggest weasel in American politics, the guy who basically not only sucked Trump's but caressed the balls after he called his wife ugly and blamed his dad for JFK. But that's neither here nor there. This dude is up here showing you his disdain for the American worker and just the idea that individual Americans would get a break individually in their lives just pisses this guy off.
That there is a real risk if you are that slacker barista who wasted 7 years in college studying completely useless things, now has loans and can't get a job. Joe Biden just gave you 20 grand. Like, holy cow, 20 grand. That, maybe you weren't going to vote in November and suddenly you just got 20 grand. And, if you can, get off the bong for a minute and head down to the voting station or just send in your mail-in ballot that the Democrats have helpfully sent you.
Right. And again, it just shows you a just certain disdain that people have for workers. And again, like cynically talking about college as if it's supposed to be this factory that produces pliable people for the workforce and not, life enriching experience that all Americans should get that carries them on through life, right? It's not supposed to be that you go there, learn some trade, and become another widget on the assembly line of capitalism. That's not what it's for. But Ted Cruz is showing you what him and the ruling class think of workers and why people are going the route like quiet quitting, because even the idea that you would get a break is completely anathema to these folks.